we had built the world's first period test. It's actually an AI bot, which then does something called as a prognosis, which is a one step before diagnosis. I think a team size of 4 people in the peak of COVID, which is three co-founders and one team member has now beautifully mushroomed to over almost close to about 55 people today. We feel very guilty about taking care of ourselves. Somewhere our own health and our own well-being takes a backseat.
Thanks, Rachana, for being on our show, wiping out the norm. You've clearly done this. As our theme suggests, you've created the world's first and the largest community of, women who are facing reproductive health issues and issues related to menstrual hygiene and their cycles. So I really want to ask you as to what triggered this idea of starting up something like this into this space. I know that being a woman, it comes naturally to us to think about this, but not many people take steps to work towards it. So what led to it?
First and foremost, Radhika, thank you for having me over. I think I love the series called Wiping Out the Norm. Fits really well with what we are building at Gynoveda. And I think all along, now when I look back, I think I've been a huge advocate of women's health and happiness. And especially during the 17 years that I spent in my corporate career spanning across various organizations, but largely led women-centric teams. I think the realization that as women, we feel very guilty about taking care of ourselves, right? There is so much of conditioning that we have grown up with, especially about being the primary caregivers, whether it's our parents, it's our family, it's our children. Somewhere our own health and our own well-being takes a backseat, and I think that somewhere stayed with me subconsciously. Little did I know then that I'm going to do something about it, but I think it definitely nudged me real hard to say, what is it that I would like to pursue. And then when I decided to move out of a successful corporate career, I actually got certified to be an happiness coach.
Okay.
And during my interactions again there with thousands of women, I think what really came across is, how we are too harsh on ourselves, how we also fear being judged. And I think sometimes we don't have these real heart-to-heart conversations about our health and what's bothering us, and how can we succeed in life with even our dearest friends and family, because this fear of being judged comes in the way. And that's where again, I think this realization that how health is a huge part of what we can achieve and what we can do in life. And it could be anything, right? I mean, to each his own. How can we truly become the best version of ourselves? That is where the turning point happened. And that's actually a time in life where, a lot of people say when you're in your 40s, it's midlife crisis. I think it's midlife clarity.
I've heard that a lot from our speakers.
Yes. And I think in my case, it's clearly been midlife clarity, which is what led us to build Gynoveda. And then, being a woman, being a mother myself, and talking to friends, talking to strangers, realized that women need a very safe, non-judgmental, non-intrusive space to have these conversations, especially our menstrual and reproductive health. And I think more than just our menstrual cycles, when it comes to our vaginal health and hygiene, I think it's completely under-leveraged, not spoken about even between best friends. And how do you really nudge women to have more openness towards talking about it and then seeking help? Which is what led us to form this group. It's called Circle of Sisterhood. And truly it has today become a very solid network of women just being there for each other and supporting each other in a very silent and a solid way.
What was the first set of departments that you created to take this idea into action?
Yeah, clearly the first set was, customer service, customer support. Because by then we had built, between Vishal, Dr. Aarti and me, we had built the world's first period test. So actually, if you go at Gynoveda.com today, there is a section there that stands out where a woman from anywhere in the world can answer about 23 questions, and it's a recommendation. It's actually an AI bot, which then does something called as a prognosis, which is a one step before diagnosis. So it tells you if you have irregular periods, whether you have PCOS, whether you have any kind of vaginal infection, endometriosis, fibroid. So it gives you, basis your symptoms, it tells you what kind of a period disorder, or you don't have any.
Yeah.
Right? So we had got rich data points from more than, I think, 5 lakh women across 600 cities, and we said, okay, we have this data. Now is the time to understand, basis this data, how the consumer journey will get started. And that's when we built a consumer support team. And our first team member, she's a part of Gynoveda today. In fact, she's recently got elevated. She also manages the founder's office, because she's so closely worked with us at a time where there is so much of ambiguity in the founder's mind, right, as to how you're going to build this space. So it started with customer support. And because we were digital first, we then also brought on a digital performance team. So we brought on board even a content team that worked very closely with Vishal and me to build meaningful content around how doctors on camera like this giving women the know-how of what goes on when you have PCOS, and how Ayurveda is going to take a longer time frame, because Ayurveda doesn't work overnight. And how do you keep them really invested in this regime until they find freedom? So I think this started off with customer support, performance digital marketing team, a content team, and then as we scaled is when we started building the other, we have a tech team, both in-house as well as outsourced. Then we brought on board now a marketplace team, because it's no longer from the website, but it's also on Amazon, Flipkart, like Tata 1mg. So how do you leverage your presence on marketplace? And of course, the backbone is pretty much the doctor team.
You spoke that you all developed the world's first period test. So how did that idea come in that, okay, you have to do this, and how did you make it up? How did you set up your tech team to develop it?
So this idea came in actually, like I told you, even before we moved into an office or built a team. This idea came in because, Radhika, what we realized is, how do you decide where would you want to channelize your first 12 months of focus on, right? If you look at the spectrum of gynaecology, there are close to about 30 disorders. And how would you know that, okay, there is secondary research, but you also need something like a primary research, which tells you this is where your Pareto principle plays out, right? Where do you want to focus on? So that's the thought which came, saying, if I had to just ask you, and I've not even known you, and you have a random person coming and asking you about, how your health is, you're going to hesitate. But if you make it more into a questionnaire approach, which is focused on objectivity, and there is no element of subjectivity, we hoped that women would complete that questionnaire and that survey. And that's exactly what happened. So the period test was built between Vishal was the, I would say, technocrat. And he was the tech guy, and then it was Dr. Aarti who gave us all the inputs about how she would consult a woman coming to her clinic, and then it was me who had the insights of how women would take it had we rolled out this kind of a survey, and that's exactly how we started off with.
And you remember how your first month of community development looked like? How did you really take people into that community? How did you approach them?
Okay, so I think one standard, like I told you, Radhika, when we had to bring on our initial team members, I begged and pleaded them. I think that same thing I had to do with the community folks, because they were like, why should we are consumers of so many brands. No other brand is telling me to join this community. So why should I? And I think, I remember that in all honesty, I told them that just come there so that we can talk to you and give you instant answers to anything that you're going through. So that's how the first 3 or 4 team members came, and I used to think, itne chote community ke liye content bhi kya dalna hai? I mean, it's almost like a WhatsApp group that you are building there, but slowly they brought in more women. And that word of mouth started expanding. then we started, asking these women if somebody would want to come on camera and have a conversation with me and share her narrative. When that happened, and that video when we put out in the community, more women joined. So I think that's just pure organic content and connection with consumers has led to where the community has grown today. And today we still have our initial set of consumers, all of them intact.
Yeah.
And every time we celebrate, like, okay, we are reaching 95K and it's a milestone, and they're like, okay, I remember the days when we were just 5 of us, and I was like, yes. Some of the women in non-metro cities or in tier 4, tier 5, they still don't want to be on the community. They prefer interacting with us via chat or email. But what is now encouraging is that, even if they don't know how to write a post, or if they don't know how to write English, but they're literally typing English in Hindi, I think that they are seeing the benefits of just talking about their problem. Also, it gives you the realization that you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not the only one dealing with PCOS. Or you're not the only one who is finding it difficult to conceive. There are thousands of women. So somewhere it's this collective spirit of saying we are in it together. That's how it started, and the community is growing at a very good pace. We've always tried to keep it smaller, but like slow and steady rather than smaller. Because I think the quality of engagement is richer. It's not just about the numbers bloating up. It's truly about saying, how many active users you have in the community. What has the community done for the brand? Of course, the community is for women, of women, by women. But in terms of what it has done for the brand is that we are able to, every time we want to launch a new product, we put it out in the community. Every time we want to change the packaging of our products. So it's now truly become a very value-added, group of women who will hold us up if we don't do things which is right.
So, which is your highest selling product now?
Our highest selling product now is our the fertility support supplement, the one that I told you where thousands of women were told by their respective gynecologists that they will not be able to conceive. And I think that has just picked up to another level, because that is also about giving hope to women when they don't have hope, and they look at, while they come to you as a last resort. I think it's slowly changing the narrative where women are no longer waiting for a problem to appear. They're saying, I want to be more proactive in taking care, and if this can happen to women who in their late 30s or who did not have any idea why they were not conceiving, if they can have become healthy mothers and have healthy babies, why not we who are trying to start a family?
Can you tell me your first VC-led interaction that you had?
Of course, I think they are most special. I wear my heart on my sleeve for them. I don't call them as investors. I call them truly as partners, and I think that's where the journey began, right? And way back in October 2019 is when we got our seed funding from our marquee investor Fireside Ventures, who are now the leading D2C and consumer space investors, and walked into a room full of men and had to talk about menstrual and reproductive health. And I don't think I have been at any point of time in this journey more comfortable than with a group of men talking about how they want to really champion the women's health space.
Like you said, VCs are partners who co-build with you, and Kanwaljit is a name in the D2C market that everyone aspires to associate with. So what are some of the insights that he personally shared with you for Gynoveda?
So his name always brings the biggest smile on my face. And we call him Kamal. So he's truly been the anchor of this space, and I think two things. One, like I said, he let us be. He just wants us to build this with the same level of authenticity and passion that we had on day one. And I think that is hugely comforting, right? Because that's what you want as an entrepreneur, the space and the freedom to build it out the way you want to. And the second thing, I think, he believes in the value of good. And coming from the institution that he has and his own personal vision, he always encourages and nudges us to do value of good. And what we are doing by way of enabling women to take charge of their health, and every time that we have a woman who has conceived and there is a baby picture, that's the kind of notes I exchange with them. It's not about revenue. It's not about where the company is going to be 5 years from now. It's all about how many lives have been changed, and that is, I think, extremely refreshing to see in our venture capital world. Is somebody who is having meaningful conversations with you for the category that you're building.
What's your mission and vision statement now in one line, if you could explain us?
Okay, I think, vision is to be very clearly the largest period health company in the world. We found our mojo with menstrual and reproductive health. We know our products works like anything else, and that's the space that we totally own and want to be the pioneers in that space. I think that's clearly the vision. I don't know if it's a mission statement, but we're all about celebrating life, and we don't wait for life to give us something in the future. We are all about celebrating life right here, right now.
Yeah, that's very optimistic.
Yeah.
And who are your mentors? Who would you call your mentor in your journey so far?
So one of them we've really discussed about. I think two of them, both Kaval and Vinay, and now we have Shivani Basin Sachdeva from India Alternative Fund. I think she plays the role of a mentor. And in my previous avatar, my erstwhile company's COO, her name is Radhika Bajoria. I think she has been my mentor. So I think for us, it's always been looking up to people who are self-made and who are authentic in what they are building. And like I said, they can celebrate success and failure both. And are not looking only at the glamorous side of what's happening around you.
For other founders who are listening in for the early stages especially, what kind of pitch do you think is a good pitch that can attract yours, because you are telling, but are people listening? That's the point. Some of them just hear you, but they don't listen it to you. So how do you make sure that your pitch is done in the right way?
Okay, I think, from whatever limited learnings I have, you have to be brutally honest. The honesty comes across. People can know whether you are faffing or it's truly what you've built. So there are obviously some folks who I've seen who are amazing storytellers. So the thing might not exist, but they're able to make you believe that the thing exists, and I think that's something that even I wish to learn. But I think for us, what's really worked is just being honest to yourself and letting that come across. I think you need to know that you have to. I would say again, the messenger and the medium, right? You need to know if it's happening on an online conversation, what catches attention. And when you're literally sitting face to face like this and seeing eye to eye, what catches attention. And I think, you have to tell a great story. Everybody loves to listen to a great story, right? So I think the art of storytelling is clearly the difference where you get rapt attention or where you start seeing people getting fidgety and looking at their watch or looking outside or trying to figure out how hot it is and warm. I think you get enough of those body signals, so you know when to stop. But sometimes people don't even observe those signals because you're so self-obsessed with, okay, I've got this 20 minutes slot. I don't think.
Have you ever faced those awkward situations?
Couple of times. I mean, not this situation where you have to, but you kind of sense early on that they're not in the same zone as you are, and it's okay, right? I mean, that's absolutely fine, and you get that even otherwise. It's not just with the investor community, but and then you need to know, okay, probably it's time to just zip it up. And ask them if they have any questions. So I think listening to the signals is very important.
That's a very important learning. It shouldn't be like you're reading a script, but actually listening to the features also of the person, the signals that they're giving.
Of course.
But what's your leadership style like? How do you get the best out of your people?
Okay, so I think for me, what really matters is I invest in you. in understanding people.
Hmm.
I see people exactly the way they are.
Hmm.
And for me, it is about, I don't have any guards on.
Hmm.
I don't have any filters. What you see is what you get.
Hmm.
So it can be an absolutely hilarious laugh or something which makes no sense. To which actually my teenage son always says that's so lame. And that's a word he keeps pushing at me several times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, given the fact that, as a woman, a founder, compassion and empathy is what is hardwired into us, for sure. The degrees could be different, but given the space that we are in, we know that it's a lot to do with what we are physically dealing with and also the whole mental issue. And I think that compassion and empathy automatically flows towards people. So I'm clearly the one where, both men and women are able to come and tell me their innate fears, tell me what's going right and wrong in their family. Yeah, I think they also come to me for advice. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm the right person to be doing that, but I'll at least share perspectives.
Yeah.
I won't give you a self-help guide, but I'll definitely share my learnings and my experiences. So yeah, I think it's definitely high on engagement and empathy, my leadership style.
And are there any verticals under which you all are hiring currently?
Yes, plenty.
Okay, that's good.
So currently we are hiring in, of course, like the performance digital marketing team. We are looking at, like we discussed sometime earlier, Radhika, we're looking at bringing on a tech support team that can work with us on the app. We are looking to build an offline expansion team that will take us into, offline centers as well as into the GT, general trade, modern trade business. We are looking at hiring people in the business transformation area. We are looking at hiring folks in content. So at this point of time, we have like all the funnels. And the tap gates are
and
open.
also because you recently raised money, so
yes.
it's a fresh time for everyone at Gynoveda. But lastly, what's the last thing that you did for the first time?
The last thing that I did for the first time is actually get a tattoo.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I've been somebody who said, okay, I don't think I never say never. And so this came along, and yeah, the last thing that I did for the first time, obviously, I think has to be getting a tattoo.
So great to hear what you're doing. Thanks for coming on our show, Rachana.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you so much. I think you've not, enjoyed this kind of an uninterrupted, undivided attention. And thank you for having me over. Love
Pleasure.